Should all be live now? Should all be live? I may throw the intro back up there for a moment. Give people a minute to get over here. I don't start the video here too early, and then people that have joined. Audio capture. My window, so I should be able to hear the. Alright, I'm gonna see something here. Just give me a second. Yes, give me a second. Alright. I can't see. I don't need it. I guess I don't need it. Whatever. Let me just close it out of here. Alright. So I'm gonna give it a few more minutes to get people to tap in, check out the stream. Try to give people a few minutes. I'm gonna put the I'll go ahead and put the intro back on there for good, everybody? What's good? What's good? Well, man, welcome in. If you're new here, make sure y'all hit the like, comment, subscribe. I'm Royal Rawls, and we're gonna be reacting to the rest, or it's the second part of the series that we started on Wednesday. We started on the Nick Fuentes debating Dean Withers on Ados's show. We're gonna finish that. This is the second part of that series, so I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to get into this and the chat to let us know what's going on. What's Harry? What's up? Sadama? What's good? What's good? It's gonna be a debate that this is the second part of the series. I'm about to put it on right now. Alright, so I'm going ahead and start playing the series here. Let me get myself over here. Alright. Nah, I'm not doing college football. This is it's a show that this is a second part series to a continuation from from Wednesday. So I'll go ahead and get started and tap into it. This is the end. Let me make sure you guys hear it. This is it's a show that this is a second part series to continue from Wednesday. So go ahead and get started. Tap into it. Make sure you guys hear it. All right, hold on. I need to pause it. I need to figure out my audio capture is not coming through for the actual show. Let me make sure the audio capture is coming through. Audio input capture, audio out capture. New. Okay. No. That's not what I'm looking for. Bam. Alright, should be in this properties. This. Sorry about that. I'm trying to figure out why the audio is not coming through. If it ain't, I may do it like this. We'll take the ear. Cancel. We'll do it like this. Take Bluetooth off, and I'll just play it through my microphone. That way, you guys can hear it as well.
On immigration to keep. What's the last sentence? Are men superior to women? Okay, but if you agree to do immigration. If I agree to do immigration, what does that mean? I feel like there's people out there who agree to immigration. I don't know. Okay, Nick, is that fine with you? If he doesn't want to do immigration, like, let's just hold on a second. Dean, do you have a topic a fifth topic that you might want to cover, touch base on?
Just something for the end. It doesn't have to be that long either, like maybe 15 minutes.
Yeah, we can
All right. Okay. All right. So the next topic is.
Are men superior to women? Yeah, we'll start with our men
debate partner. You're good. It's not personal stuff. I just want you to know.
Are men more superior?
No, just superior. Are men superior to women? We'll start with Nick. I'll give you 3 minutes and then 3 minutes to Dean.
Yeah, men are awesome. Women suck and they're dumb. And no, I'm kidding.
What up,
Yeah,
Pepper?
the thing is, though, men obviously were made to lead, and I do think that women should have a secondary role in society. I think that's absolutely true. I do believe in a fun.
Can you guys hear the audio all right? Let me know if you can or cannot hear the audio all right. I want to make sure that you guys do get the audio. It's an important part of the aspect here.
Fundamental equality between man and woman. You know, the Bible says that God created them man and woman, so we're both created with dignity and should be respected, and there's an equality before God that we both have. But we were created with two distinct and different natures. They are two essential. Maleness and femaleness are essential about a person. They're essential to the soul. They're essential to the body. They come with a function. They come with a particular anatomy. They come with a brain chemistry. And as such, those things have social roles. The idea that these clearly two distinct categories, two essential types of people would be treated precisely the same or exactly the same in society, it belies the fact that they have two different natures. And I think it's obvious that men are celestial, they're individualists, they're rationalists, they're leaders, they're risk takers. They should be working, fighting, running society. Women are terrestrial, they're nurturers, they're caregivers. They should be the mothers. I don't think that they should be necessarily precluded from working. But I think that they should be encouraged first and foremost to be mothers for their benefit and for the benefit of society as a whole. And that's kind of the gist of my position.
Okay, so I have an opening statement. I guess I'll use it up. My position's pretty clear. No, one human being does not have more intrinsic moral value than another human being.
I think that I definitely think that there's different needs for men and women. And I would say that men lead in a more dominant, superior manner, and women lead in a more caregiving, emotional type manner. It's two different types, but the man was meant to lead and protect, and that's how I feel.
I don't think that we could take this qualification of your gender identity or what's in between your legs and abstract that out to this norm of who's going to be better at leading. I'd say the qualifications of determining who's better at leading, the qualifications of determining, half the shit that he named off over here is not going to be, right, what's in between your legs or your gender identity, but rather other various traits. But I guess just to make this quick, we could kind of cut to the chase here. Why do you think men are better at leading than women? I would appreciate specifics. You kind of pointed out like different natures, different biological differences, neuroanatomy, etc. I want you to name the specifics. Maybe I could ask you a question here. What are the specific biological differences between men and women that make men better at leading than women?
Smarter, stronger, all of the above. No, I mean, in actuality,
Be specific.
In actuality, what?
Let me know if it gets better. I did just turn the volume up, so hopefully it does get better.
Are those your two qualifiers?
No, I'm being a little bit funny.
Well, be honest with me here.
The reason why they're better leaders, well, one, I think they're really only qualified to be leaders because they are physically stronger. And this is one of the reasons why we have a feminist society. It's because we live in a world where we have technology. In the old days, when there was fighting, it was very physical and it was very direct. It was hand-to-hand combat, and the only people that could do it were men. As such, the militaries that were raised up were comprised of men. The people that fought and enforced sovereignty, law, borders, all those things were men. Necessarily, then, they're the decision makers. And so, the idea that it has something to do with what's between your legs, well, it has to do with what's between your legs and the fact that you have testosterone. You're physically stronger. And by the way, because you have testosterone, it means you're more aggressive. It means you're a bigger risk taker. Those are two things that are important. For a person to be a leader, they need to be able to stand against the crowd. And that means a risk taker. It means you need to be disagreeable. It involves a certain amount of aggression and a competitiveness that women simply lack. We all know that women are very agreeable, passive. Not all of them, but generally speaking, they are. They're peacemakers. They're more introspective. They're more emotional, less decisive. And all of that makes them worse as leaders.
My volume is still low. Did my volume go up? I haven't said nothing yet, so until just now. Let me know if my volume is low or high. If it's low, I can turn my volume back up and try to get it to where my voice is also being heard.
Leaders. Now, there can be women that are good in particular leadership roles in certain circumstances, and individual women might. But as a general rule, because of their nature, they don't make good leaders.
Okay, thank you so much for your response there. Let's talk about it all. One of the reasons that you gave me that men are better at leading than women is physical strength. That is a totally and completely moot point. You would not be able to name me one social category.
All right, now is that better? I just took the insulator off the mic because I have it all the way up right now. It's crazy. It still does sound like it's low. But maybe it'll get better. It is better? Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and get back into it. Having some technical difficulties out here.
In the
These YouTube streets. Crazy. I gotta figure out this audio shit. I definitely need to get a new mic.
world today where leadership is determined on purely physical strength. I also bet that you would not be willing to vote for a 15-year-old on steroids that can bench press 600 pounds over Donald Trump just because he's physically stronger. Another point that you brought up is that women are more emotional than men. I'd actually say that's false. 72% of people who commit suicide are men. 85% of people that abuse hard drugs as a as an emotional reaction to like particular external stimuli are men. We see that 95% of violent crimes are committed by men. We see that men are much more likely to start wars, to start genocides. We see that men are much more likely to engage in irrational, risk-adverse activities such as drunk driving, reckless driving, or gambling. Meanwhile, we see women have a higher IQ and EQ on average. Women outperform men in the context of school, going to it more, getting better grades and better degrees. And we see that women can actually deal with stress better than men. And that's one of those biological predispositions that you were talking about. Women have thicker dendrites in their neuroanatomy compared to men, for the reason being that evolution has designed women to deal with childbirth, okay? Right? And that may...
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely say that I think women are more intelligent in the manner as they learn quicker. They're faster with their thought process. They're more book smart, but they're also more of an emotional leader than you would see men lead more with rationality. There's lines there. I don't know. It's hard to
them deal with stress better as well. That's why we see that female surgeons outcompete male surgeons. The JMA and the AMA did a massive study on 1.7 million patients on 6 continents and evaluated that if you're operated on by a male compared to a female, that you're more likely to die as a result of your surgery and you're more likely to experience postoperative outcomes. So, just a quick recap. Physical strength doesn't mean shit. I have bigger biceps than you. I bet you think you're a better leader. Emotional maturity. Women are more emotionally mature than men. Then about intelligence and all the other shit you brought up. We could get into that, but I'll let you respond to the points that I brought up so far.
Yeah. So you said it was risk averse to gamble and drunk drive. It's the opposite. You said men are more willing to drunk drive and gamble. Those are risk taking activities, and risk taking is fundamental in leadership.
Yeah,
that's why, yeah, well, fair enough. And that's why, you know, the richest people in the world are all men, because the entrepreneurs are men, because an entrepreneur is a risk taker. And, you know, one man's gambling is...
Let's say he's got a point there. There are some very wealthy women in the world as well, but the majority, if you go look at the top 10 list, I would say that at least 8 out of those 10 are going to be men.
Another man's entrepreneurship. One man's drunk driving is another man's self-destructive, obsessive, maniacal quest for, you know, building the best company or being the president or anything like that. It's absolutely essential. With regard to higher IQ and EQ, it is true that on average women have a higher IQ, but it's also true that the distribution is different. There's more geniuses among men. I mean, the curve, if you will, is flatter. So there's more men that are on the left side of the curve. There's more men on the right side of the curve. Although the average for women is higher, they don't have those outliers and those extremes. That's why you don't see a lot of female geniuses, and that's just true. I mean, earlier today in preparation for the debate, I asked ChatGPT, I said, names...
I will say he's definitely kind of got a point there. I ain't never actually looked into it like that, but that is kind of crazy.
Some female geniuses. They got to like 3 before they had to name a feminist. They did like Marie Curie, some ancient Neoplatonist no one ever heard of, and then it was like all the like first and second wave feminists. There's no female geniuses. There's very few female billionaires that didn't get their wealth outside of divorce. There's very few female heads of state. People say that's oppression, it's misogyny, and we all know it's because they're not risk takers, they're not tough. With regard to they handle stress better, yeah, maybe certain kinds of stress, but I think we all know women. And I think we all know that when women are put in stressful situations, they
my
crumble.
God.
They
So
cry,
my
they
evidence-
cry, they get upset, they freak out, they call their boyfriend, they call their
Yeah, and
father.
then
Hang on,
punch
I'll
holes
let you
through
go on.
walls.
Not all men punch holes through walls. As you look, I'm not one to do that. My brother is one to do that. But there's just different variations.
I'll let you go
Burn
on, and
down
you said
cars
that
and
ridiculous
buildings.
stuff.
And the ones that are burning down cars and buildings are generally on your side of the spectrum there, purple background boy, Dean Withers.
Yeah, let me finish. I'll wrap up. But I let you finish, and I let you say that women handle stress better. That's insane. Okay. And with regard to physical,
I'm gonna say, what is? I wonder. I might have to look it up. I wonder what the suicide rate is more in, whether it's more in men or more in women. Hey Siri, do women or men have a higher suicide rate throughout the U.S.? ChatGPT's working, so just give me a second. As in the U.S., men have a higher suicide rate than women in 2023. The age-adjusted suicide rate for males was 22.8% per 100,000. Nearly 4 times higher than the 5.9 per 100,000 for females. This trend has been consistent over years, with men consistently exhibiting higher suicide rates across variation age groups. Now, I didn't do through the world, I just did through the US. But
strength, look, I said today physical strength is not a qualifier because of techniques, because we have missiles, we have tanks and things like that. But the point is, it used to be the case that what qualified you to lead is that you would go out there and be doing the fighting and all of that. And that is still true. It's not necessarily true in the United States, but it is still true in other countries. And countries like Israel, for example, or Iran, their presidents and their ministers are frequently military leaders that are actually having to be.
I say, isn't the man from Ukraine that was just had an interview, I think, recently with Donald Trump, was just over at the White House? Isn't he normally? Didn't he get criticized because he wore his battle fatigues to the White House instead of wearing a suit?
In the tanks and in the battlefield. And, it's hard to be in the battlefield when you get your period. It's hard to be in the battlefield if you're pregnant or something like that. Men don't get pregnant. Men don't get their period. Men are physically stronger. The men have more endurance. That's why, by the way, it's not just that they're stronger, they're faster, they're all the above. That's why women don't compete with men in sports. That's why men make better soldiers. And so, it kind of does matter that if there's a war, men are going to be the ones fighting and dying it, and that's why they're leading. And
I do think that there's also an interest aspect of that, where women aren't, they don't have to go into the draft. They don't have to make, that's a choice thing. Or a lifestyle thing. Men are more equipped to battle and more willing to go to battle than women. Now, there's obviously outliers on both sides, but, the exception doesn't make the rule. The majority does, so.
There's something deeply related to their biology there as well. But go ahead, since you want to interrupt me already.
Yeah, let's do something here. I've kind of felt this way the entire time that we've been having the discussion. I feel like we both like to talk a lot. I think that that's been evidently clear. We just kind of go at each other with these 2 to 3 minute responses. Can I ask something from you?
What is it? Depends on what it is.
I kind of want to break down each point you've brought up and demonstrate to you why it's flawed instead of just giving these long-winded responses.
You want to do a fact check?
5 minutes, guys.
And I want to do that point by point with our last 5 minutes. The first point about physical strength. Who would you rather vote for? A 15-year-old that can bench press 1,000 pounds or Donald Trump?
But that's not what I'm not saying that the most.
That was kind of an outrageous analogy. A 15-year-old that could bench press 1,000 pounds or Donald Trump? Donald Trump. I would rather have Donald Trump because of the experience, because of the just the overall, mostly the overall experience in life. A 15-year-old I wouldn't want to be leading the country, whether they're strong or not. So the strength aspect of that doesn't mean much to me because the knowledge, the experience, the life that's yet to be lived is just not there. So if you're going to put that comparison, like, that's different. You need to go find two men that are matched at the same age, one that's super strong and one that's super mentally strong, and then from that point you can make that type of comparisons. But to me, to say, oh, a 15-year-old that could bench 1,000 pounds or Donald Trump, that's apples and oranges. That's not a very good comparison.
Physically strong person should be the king. I'm saying that
what are you saying?
as a category, women are not soldiers. They're not tasked with defending the country, and that is effectively what the king or the president is supposed to do, is defend the realm.
I mean, and you don't even got to necessarily take it back to the country. Like, when it comes to a household, the common household, the man is the one that defends the household, and the women are the one that hold the men up. Like, and behind every good king, there's a great queen. So both parties are needed, but the one that you want leading, generally, you don't want to have an emotional attachment that goes with those decisions, because the emotional attachment that goes into those decisions can be persuade either direction because of the emotion. So as I would be more adverse for having a male leader, because I think that's what men are designed to do, and women are designed to hold their men up. So I don't know, but y'all let me know in the chat what y'all think.
Didn't
it's
Trump dodge the
categories.
draft 5 times?
Oh my. Okay, so are we just going to do the resistance liberal thing now? I said
No,
the
it's
United
just
States
crazy.
technics
Half
not.
I think some of the points that Dean Withers brings up are very flawed and atrocious, because they really don't apply to the situation he's trying to discuss. He tries to find gotcha points. He uses a lot of theatrics and emotion in the way he expresses himself versus Nick Fuentes, in example. But I don't know.
Notwithstanding, are you capable of understanding like a concept?
Can non-soldiers defend the country?
President Bone Spurs.
Non-soldiers would defend the country. Just because you're not a soldier doesn't mean you can't defend the country. And that's not saying women can't defend the country either. That's not saying that. I think they're getting a little off subject with the base of the conversation. It's supposed to be around the question, are men more superior than women, or vice versa?
Talking about whether women should be leaders if they can't physically defend the borders.
Okay, so you'd say the weaker you are, physically speaking, the worse you are at leading.
No.
So then what the fuck is your argument?
Like, he makes strange correlations with the statements being made by the other side. He tries to find a point and be like, well, look, this part of it doesn't make sense, so we're going to throw that at you.
Yeah, it's like you're not even listening. I said as a category, because sex is
a
essential.
Category that's not going to be indicative of leadership ability, when the question is, why are men better at leading than women? Why do you name a category where we see these general biological distinctions between men and women if it's not indicative of men being better at leading than women? I asked you to name the specific biological differences between men and women that make men better at leading than women. You said strength was one of them, and now you're saying it's not. You're saying that emotional intelligence was one of them, then you conceded that women are more emotionally intelligent than men. Another
Didn't
point
hear
that
the other part.
Another point that you brought up was intelligence, specifically IQ, with like the highest geniuses of the men being smarter than that of the women. I'd say there's going to be some social, like some social aspects thrown in there. I mean, if you look at like the average IQ of an Arab individual compared to a white individual at home here in the U.S., the white individual has a higher IQ. But then if you go to an Arab-dominated country in the Middle East, you'll see that the Arab individual has a higher IQ. What this means is that socialization, access to opportunity and resources can play in, right, to like your deviated IQ. So of course we'd see more men having higher IQs at the end of the spectrum compared to women, just because they have more opportunity, resources, and access to education.
Oh, it's because of misogyny. It's misogyny, right? Women are dumb because of misogyny.
Well, actually, I'd say that not being in the top 10%
let me ask
of
you.
IQs
Let me ask
doesn't
you
make
a question.
fucking dumb.
You ask me
And then
questions. Let me
secondly,
ask you a
give reason to
question.
believe that
I
that's
want to
true.
ask you a question.
Now Nick Fuentes is trying to do the same shit back to him, pointing out things that are irrelevant parts of the subject matter that he talked about, and throw them back at him.
About leadership. What do you think are good leadership traits? Can you give me some examples of what like good leadership traits are?
That's a great question, and I think I'll give you a great answer. We could talk about a good, morally virtuous character. We could talk about ability to get along with other people, bring people together, and get them to follow you. Another thing that I'd say, a good leader isn't just someone who could bring people together, but a good leader is also someone that can lead those people into a positive direction.
To me, a good leader is somebody that's going to hold not only himself, but the people around him accountable, that he puts the people around him in the best positions that they will succeed as well, and that he can motivate them, men or women, to be at their best potential. To me, that's part of what makes you a good leader.
The reason that leadership exists in the first place is because when you take a large group of people and you set them on their own paths, they're not going to get shit done. Thereby, you choose one of that large group of people to lead them all in what? A positive direction. So you're looking for someone with a good character. You're looking for someone that could bring people together. You're probably going to be looking for someone that's pretty damn competent as well, and someone that could like achieve like the highest level of eudaimonia for the group of people that they're leading. I'm sure there's other attributes that we get assigned to leadership here, but there's going to be a general sense.
Bro, pull out eudaimonia. Look, see,
Wait,
this
Nick,
is where you're wrong.
Nick, let's do you need to respond, or could we, let's do a 1 minute closing statement here?
Can I just respond and then we can do
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So just to respond to that, I mean, and this is kind of the whole essence of the debate.
Didn't
Is you
cut me off last time? Funny. Go ahead.
you fundamentally misunderstand human nature and you know nothing about leadership. You say it's about bringing everyone together to move in a positive direction. It's like this is the problem with Gen Z. It's like this kind of kindergartner. Hang on, can I finish, please? I didn't interrupt all that nonsense. It's just sort of like, hey, everybody, let's all hold hands and let's just create, like everyone's being nice to each other. The world is a mess. Okay, the world is a knife fight.
The world is evil inherently, and you have to learn to deal with it. It's not always gonna be peaches and cream. It's not always gonna be kumbayas. So you need people that can lead through adversity as well, and be able to manage that adversity. And if they're a leader, they need to be able to distribute the people around them to also manage and take care of that adversity as well.
The global scale, when you're talking about leaders and armies, it's a knife fight for existence. We're talking about companies, it's a knife fight for existence. We're talking about anything. Human competition, it's practically homicidal between people, and anyone that's serious about anything will tell you that. Anyone that's obsessed, anyone that's ambitious, anyone who is ruling, who is actually the leaders in society, who earn their role there, they'll tell you the same thing. It's cutthroat. And yeah, like there are some abilities, like you said, like, yeah, you need to inspire people and things like that. But more than that, you need a willingness to do what it takes. You need an ambition. You need to take risks. You need to be...
You got to have that grit. You got to have that grit.
Willing to make decisions and stand by them. These are all qualities that purely because of gender and hormones, because of their biological role, women don't have those things. Because women have to have a baby grow inside of them for 9 months and then hear it scream and cry and take care of it and feed them from their breast and have like basically a dependent. They're just not made for that kind of competition. They have a completely care-based ethics. They're totally dependent. Men who are individuals, risk takers, aggressive, men who can exist independently of women when it's really not so the other way around. They alone have the ability to do what it takes to lead. And that's why Even with all the DEI in the world, you're still going to have men running everything. The private sector, the public sector, the military, because men are the ones that can lead. And thus, they do. It's only through ideologically motivated policies from human resources departments that you get women doing fucking anything other than like creating schedules and being nurses and being fucking teachers and stuff like that. That's just reality. Everyone knows it. And you could give me 100 studies. That's human nature.
Dean, respond, and
Okay,
then we'll
I
go to
mean-
closing statements.
Yeah, it's funny how you're saying that you can't get women to do anything. If a woman didn't do something, you want to be sitting here having this debate with me, right?
I think a woman left that blood clot on his neck here. I don't know that you guys can see it. But damn! Stop letting people leave blood clots on your neck, Dean Withers.
Right now. But I would just wanted to respond to that. You're saying men are so much better at leading than women, and I hate women because I haven't touched one since conception. Sorry, that's not what you said. You actually said, because they're not.
I touch them. I just don't. I don't have sex with them. They're not my wife.
I don't know about that. Anyways, so
You're
the
a
question,
rapist.
I'm not gonna call
Orange
you a
man
rapist
bad.
without evidence.
Orange and
anyways,
glad.
So anyway,
ahead,
no, you're good, man. What I was gonna ask, well, if like ambition, risk taking, and aggressiveness is what makes you a good leader, Hitler was an incredibly ambitious, aggressive risk taker. Given your qualifications, would you thereby say that Hitler is a good leader?
It's indisputable he is. Indisputably. You could even say he's evil.
You can't take away the fact that he wasn't leading. He was doing a good job leading. He just had the wrong intentions. But that's another subject.
He made Germany great again.
I
Even
have
if
a
you believe
question.
he's evil.
Who would you rather have run our country right now, your wife or Hitler?
Hitler! Of course. Of course. I don't have a wife, but if I did, she would not be fit to run the country. I could tell you that much. She can run the kitchen. She can't run the lawnmower. I'll put it that way. And I think anyone would. One's in the chat if you'd rather Hitler over your wife. Two's if you prefer your wife. We'll let the fucking numbers do the talking over here. I don't think I'm alone in that.
Okay, let's do a 1 minute closing. Let's do 1 minute Nick and then 1 minute Dean. Nick, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so my closing statement
And Dean seems to correlate a lot of things back to being Hitler, by the way. Just for the heads up.
is that, look, it's human nature. I am not an empiricist. I don't think we need to consult the studies. I think we know our nature. I think God created a man and a woman. We're created with two different reproductive faculties. We're created with, as a result, different anatomies, different natures, different dispositions. We're made with complementarity. Men and women are not only made differently, they're made to complement each other, which doesn't mean that they're necessarily opposites, but it does mean that there's like reciprocal differences. As a result of these essential immutable differences, we should treat men and women differently, and we do. That's why we have things like chivalry. That's why men don't hit women. That's why men and women don't compete in the same sports. And, a lot of people understand that, but then they don't understand why we would say we don't want a woman president, or why we wouldn't want to send women into combat, or why we think that men aren't badass bikers and whatever in the same way that men are. But it all proceeds from the same essential complementary natures that the two sexes were given by God.
That's
To
time,
pretend
Nick.
otherwise is to ignore our eyes and our experience and what we know about ourselves and the people in our lives.
Dean, 1 minute.
Yeah, first of all, you said that's why men don't hit women. Men do hit women. It sucks. Second of all,
Some men hit women, and those men are no better than women.
let's talk about why men are not better at leading than women. Every single point that Nick Fuentes has been reduced to him telling us all that Hitler is a better candidate for America's president.
Back to Hitler again. That's what we go to. We like to bring it back to Hitler. That's what Dean Withers likes to do.
Today compared to Kamala Harris or his very own wife. I don't give a shit about the 12 or 13-year-old little boys spamming one in Adin's chat. Anyone with half of a fucking brain cell can tell that this logic is not immutable, and it leads you to being a fucking incel RNC droid.
I think he's getting really upset at how many ones were in the chat of Aiden's video. I think you can almost see the anger and anguish across Dean Wither's face at how mad he's getting because people in the chat seemed to agree with Nick Fuentes' point. Hey, that just puts you as an outlier, Dean. Don't get upset at it. Okay,
repeating the
Soft A.
same alternative
Soft
media
A.
talking points that you got from Andrew fucking Tate. Okay, right? The facts of the matter are, this guy said men are better at leading than women because they're physically stronger. Physical strength is not indicative of being better at leading. Go talk to the biggest guy in your gym and see who would be better.
You know what? I'm
Better at leading. This guy also brought up levels of emotion.
How
Men
the
are more
chat?
emotional than women. We all know this. That's why they commit vast majority of violent crimes. That's why they commit vast majority of suicides. That's why they abuse hard drugs more. Right?
It's
That's
about
why
time,
they
Dean.
commit EV, kidnapping, etc. more. Another point that he brought up was intelligence. Women have a higher IQ on average. Let's face the facts, folks. There's no evidence to believe that men are better at leading than women. And I suggest you treat the women in your life damn well and
I just wonder. I mean, yes, do treat the women in your life well, 100%. That. But go look up the best leader, the top 10 best leaders to ever exist, and then come back in the chat and let me know if they were man or women.
don't tell them to stay in the kitchen or you're not going to get a wife.
That's
Just
time,
like
Dean.
28-year-old Nick Fuentes over here hasn't been able to get a girlfriend since he was born. That's why, folks. That's why you're an incel. But we're going to go ahead and move on now.
Okay, let's go back to Trump Kamala in the beginning. We'll say who's stronger on immigration, Trump or Kamala?
This one's blown out the water. Trump is way better at immigration. There's no way that he could even make an argument, as the border bazaar was just letting people in, flying people across the United States from place to place, bringing them in. Yeah, that's not being good at immigration, because none of them were legally documented, and a lot of them committed crimes.
And we'll start with Dean. We'll give you let's do 2 minutes. We'll keep this one a little short, a 2-minute intro.
Yeah, sure. Kamala Harris is stronger on immigration. Well, this one's just evidently clear. Donald Trump is pro-open borders. Huh. Why is Donald Trump pro-open borders? Because he torpedoed a bipartisan border bill in the House and the Senate 2 years ago, drafted by...
This is incorrect. As he didn't vote for it. What's the word I'm looking for? Inspired. He pretty much inspired or influenced people to try to turn down a bill so that he could then be building his campaign off of a bill very similar. So that doesn't mean that he isn't for it. That just means that he wanted to be the one to fight for it.
By a Trump-endorsed Republican by the name of Langford. Okay? Trump is pro-open borders right now because he knows it's going to increase his chance of winning re-election. Another thought here, if I was a conservative and I cared about immigration, Donald Trump wouldn't be my guy. He essentially passed no policy.
And actually, that is exactly what the Democrats were doing. They were bringing people over. They were getting them into cities where they were blue states, and they were allowing them to get licenses so that they could vote illegally and try to help her become president. As this must have been done before the presidency was decided, we have seen it. Like, they literally were bringing people over here, getting them licenses to try to get them to vote for them. But those were illegal casted votes.
That effectively mitigated increasing numbers of border crossings and entries into our country under his term. The wall didn't do shit. The Remain in Mexico policy didn't do shit. If you look at the graph behind Donald Trump at the rally that he got shot at, he claimed that his clampdown on the southern border started with Title 42 and COVID. The big public health emergency that Nick Fuentes over here probably thinks was a common cold is the only reason that we had as low of border entries under Trump's administration as we did. Kamala Harris, on the other hand, right, she wants to send more funding to the courts on the borders to to expedite the asylum-seeking processes to reduce undocumented migration and
This is completely false. Completely false. Dude, Kamala was opening the borders up. Let them through. The floodgates were down. The fucking floodgates were down. Now what's the percentage now that Trump's back in office? Yeah, tell me now, Dean. What the fuck's the percentage now? As this didn't sour very well, did it? It probably tastes like spoiled milk, Dean.
our country. She's the only candidate in the race to
Boy, you don't own yourself. You don't own yourself. Shut your face.
prosecute transatlantic gangs. But the moral of the story, the one point that I want to stick for Nick Fuentes over here to respond to, is that Donald Trump is pro-open border because
Y'all don't even own the land you live on.
he torpedoed good border policy in the House and the Senate 2 years ago because he wanted the crisis to continue and make the Democrats look bad.
It's a false statement. He didn't want the crisis to continue. He wanted to then run a campaign off of part of that being in his campaign. That's not wanting the crisis to continue. That was him not giving a damn what they did in the Biden-Harris administration because he wanted to help do it himself because they weren't doing shit. Period. Point blank.
Nick, you got 2 minutes.
All right. Yeah, that's just like obviously out of touch with reality.
Facts.
I knew he would go there, and that's why I want to talk about immigration. I mean, you could make that case if history started in the year 2024 that Trump torpedoed the border bill, and that's why the border is bad. But of course, time didn't start in 2024. It started with immigration a long time ago. Trump had a number of executive orders that curbed illegal border crossings. It wasn't just the migrant protection protocols. It was a number of others meant to close loopholes with catch and release. And so they could return immigrants to third-party countries. It wasn't just Title 42. And the Biden administration undid all of them, literally on the first day. Trump built a border wall. You say it did nothing. Department of Homeland Security says actually it reduced crossings, reduced drug trafficking over the border, reduced human smuggling over the border. That's all true. He built 386 miles of physical infrastructure. And he did it, by the way, after Congress refused to give him the money, after the Supreme Court, or rather a federal judge, tried to hold it up in the court system. Finally, by the end of his term, he was able to get the money from the DOD to build a border wall. Biden stopped building it on day one. Biden also effectively ended deportations. There was a policy under Obama where they said they weren't going to prioritize most illegal immigration for deportations. Under Trump, they put an executive order that said we're going to prioritize all illegal immigrants for deportation. Biden rescinded that executive order. Trump had an executive order that said while you're waiting for your asylum claim to be adjudicated, you wait in Mexico, not in the interior of the United States. Biden rescinded that executive order. Trump said, we will return you to one of the Northern Triangle countries, a third-party country. Biden rescinded that executive order. As a result, illegal immigration under Biden is higher than at any point in history by far. In the 10 years between 2010 and 2020, illegal border crossings, only 1 year on average, on a day-to-day basis, were over 3,000 per day.
10
Under the
seconds,
Biden
Nick.
administration, it was 4,000, 6,000, and now it's over 7,000 border crossings. So it's almost 3 times the 10-year average, and that's because they removed the Trump-era policies. Now they want to blame it on a Senate bill this year? I don't think so.
Thank you for all the information, Nick. I'm going to have fun with this. First of all, it's funny that you think you're so educated about the border, and then you say that Lankford's bill was in the Senate in 2024. No, that was 2023. It started drafting in late 2021. Secondly, you mentioned
bill was in the Senate just a year earlier. Yeah, I was completely wrong.
and all the policies that Trump enacted that Biden repealed. First of all, if you look at the border crossings under Donald Trump's presidency, they went up year by year by year.
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, dumbass. But you don't know anything about my youth. And I'm not youthful at this point. I'm damn near a 40-year-old man, so shut your dumb mouth up.
Until Title 42 is implemented. What does that tell us? Immigration after the
Our youth are over here debating policies and politics.
These great policies didn't go down. What else do we know is that these policies weren't.
And the percentage of your youth isn't even a fraction of our youth, for the simple fact that y'all so small. Barely anything. And you don't even own your own land.
Weren't in place under Obama's administration.
Y'all invaded that land.
Did we have a border crisis to the same
Changed your
degree that
last
we
name
have now under
to
Obama's
a
administration?
Jewish
No,
last
at
name.
points we had lower crossings than we had under Trump. Phenomenal. What does this tell us? Is that Biden repealing those policies didn't cause the crisis to start. So what did? That's a great question. Well, let's treat Title 42, the total and complete shutdown caused by or implemented because of the public health emergency, like a dam on a river. Okay, and that dam sat on the river for a year and a half, 2 years, however long it was. When you remove the dam from the river, what happens? Water gushes through. When Title 42 expired, guess what? All of those migrants that had been backlogged gushed through. This was natural, normal, and expected. We should evaluate the responsibility and the efficacy of our current administration based upon their response to this crisis being caused by the revocal of Title 42. And what was their response? To implement bipartisan border legislation, and the first step they took was to influence exactly that through the House and the Senate. That was Lankford's bill. What happened next? Trump calls the Republicans in the House and the Senate, tells them to vote against it, torpedoes the bill. Nick over here knows the story. But I would like to ask you a very crystal clear question, Nick, and it is in the sense of a hypothetical. If your house is burning down and the fire truck shows up to put out the fire, and you tell the fire truck to turn around because you want the house to burn so you can claim the insurance money, Nick
Do you really care about your house?
Fuentes, did you care about the house?
Well, it's an incorrect hypothetical because the bill would actually concretize the Biden era
False.
policies. The bill does not secure the border. So the premise fails on that alone.
And the way that I'd
They get your ass back.
respond to
Do
that
you
is
know,
I'm sure
wait,
that
let me
you could
ask
look
you,
at a,
do you know the
Your family's probably not even Jewish. They're probably Polish or from another country, and they probably migrated over and changed their names too, just like Bibi Netanyahu. Like him, with a Polish descent.
details of the bill? Can you tell me the provisions that are in the bill, please?
I could tell you a handful. Like what was it? Like an additional $500 million towards the courts on the border to expedite asylum-seeking claims. Then we also had like some rolling average daily caps and weekly caps in which the president could then
Do you know
step
what they
in and close
are?
the border down. I think it was like 5,000 a day for like the weekly cap. But here's my response to that. You said that the average over the administration was like 7 or 9,000 a day, whatever you said it was. If you were starving and I offered you a hamburger, would you take it? Or would you say, no, I want a
You were a little late. You were a little late, Carnage, by about 40 minutes.
bacon wrapped filet? You take the damn hamburger. So when the border crisis is exuberantly high and we have this bipartisan border legislation that the alt-right, like Nick Fuentes, isn't happy about, any rational, sane person would take the bill to decrease the impact of the crisis.
All right.
And
Now let me respond to that now, because you went on your whole thing about, you corrected me on some of these
but
things.
you
Let
never
me now
answered my
rebut that.
question.
Well, because
About
the
his house burning down, did he care about? Man,
premise of the question is wrong, but I'll
I
answer it
explained to you
now.
how it wasn't wrong.
You want me to answer these like false hypotheticals and syllogisms, but that's not really how a debate works, actually. Or if
It's not false. I'm just saying
if
it is.
passing this bill is like putting out a fire, would you pass the bill? Okay. So first of all, you said the bill was from 2023. The bill failed in 2024. And that's because it resulted from the impasse over appropriations in September 2023. There was an impasse in Congress over 12 military appropriations bills. The deadline was October 1st. That's why Kevin McCarthy was removed, because the Freedom Caucus.
Yeah, I don't know why. Everything I do to try to fix my audio, it just don't fucking work. And I don't get why. I try to fix the audio, but it just ain't coming through. So other than getting a new mic, I don't know.
caucus, specifically the MAGA caucus within it, insisted on what they were
Damn, Nemo, you too? 40 minutes late?
calling, I forget
25 minutes left of the show.
the name of it, but a certain border provision in the spending bill. McCarthy wouldn't go for it, and they kept passing continuing resolutions until a bipartisan agreement was put together in the Senate. But at that point, and that was in February, Mitch McConnell said, my first priority is Ukraine, because that was the other sticking point in negotiations. So the Republicans, because they wanted Ukraine aid to pass, which was another subject of the impasse, they said, fine, here's your border concessions. And I'll tell you the provisions because you don't know. It said that it would only mandate enforcement.
Yeah, it says I've been live for about an hour now already. I started at 7. Nemo.
Of the border.
I messaged you in Discord.
When daily apprehensions hit more than 8,000 per day. Again, the average of the past 20 years is 2,000 to 3,000 per day. It would say you only have to enforce. That's what the bill says. The bill says 8,000 per day. It says that
Could we get a fact
it says
check
that
on
the
that?
administration can get emergency authority at 5,000 per day on average over a 7-day period. But it only mandates. Not a lie. It mandates enforcement at 8,000.
It's 5,000 for 1 day for a lockdown.
Excuse me. I let you finish your nonsense when you said it was in 23 when it wasn't. So you're wrong about that. It mandates it at 8,000 per day. What's more, again, the daily averages for 20 years, 10, 20 years, was 2,000 to 3,000 under the Biden administration. It goes.
Why is it that every time Dean Withers touches his face, he gives himself a fucking bruise? He gives himself a bruise. You gotta put it on the house's internet, the Royal Raw's internet, not the Windows.
Goes up past 7,000. They want to say, well, 5,000, you get emergency powers. 8,000, you have to use emergency powers. That's far.
Oh, I ain't starting over.
Too many. There's been, and this whole argument about a backlog because of Title 42, 10 million illegal immigrants have come in under Biden. Title 42 is implemented. When did the lockdown happen? March 2020? You think 10 million illegals were trying to get in the 9-month period between March and December of 2020? Biden undid all the policies in January 2021. So that's just like an ad hoc. You're just fishing around for an answer. With regard to the Trump administration, you can see very clearly cause and effect on immigration. When Trump was elected, illegal immigration went down because foreigners anticipated that there would be enforcement. So, and you can see throughout the history of the country, when they threaten enforcement, illegals don't come. When they think they'll get amnesty or they think they'll get in, more of them arrive. So they thought Trump was going to be a hardliner on immigration. They didn't come. Then in September and October 2017, Trump floated a DACA amnesty. He said, we're going to give amnesty to all the deferred action on childhood arrivals. The reason that matters is because children being brought over the border is one of the 3 big loopholes for how illegals are caught and released into the country. They bring children that aren't there and all kinds of other things. So Trump said, we'll give an amnesty. Then all of a sudden, they started getting caravans from the Northern Triangle in the spring of 2018 because he said amnesty. They heard it. They started to come. Trump maintained a zero tolerance policy promulgated then by Jeff Sessions. And they said, we're going to separate the children. We're going to treat them as unaccompanied minors. There was a huge media outcry before the election. They had to reverse it. And then after they reversed it, it exploded. And May and June 2019, they hit a peak. Trump implemented the migrant protection protocols by threatening sanctions, or rather tariffs against Mexico. And then it came down again. And that is the story of illegal immigration.
I just tried something different for the audio real quick, so I'm pausing the video. I want to see if it helps the audio. But I gotta wait for this shit to get live so that I can hear it. I think it is helping the audio. I believe it did. Is my audio better now? Did my audio come through better now?
immigration and Trump and the Biden years. It
No, I
has
see very
everything to
differently.
do.
I see very differently.
Hang on, it has everything to do with the Biden policies. They let in 10 million people, and then they float out this half-ass bill that
Wait, what
doesn't
policy
fix.
did
Hang on,
Biden
hang
has
on.
influence to get passed?
Let me finish.
Bro,
They put out this half-ass bill in
Yeah, that's a. I don't even get why they're doing the No Kings protest.
the last year because everyone agrees the border's a crisis. They concretize it, and
Yeah, people are just dumb, man. People are just dumb as hell. All right, so there's an echo on the video now. Let me see if I get rid of my mic audio. All right, so let's try it now.
and basically make in codifying federal law Biden's policy to let 5,000 people a day on average here. And then when Republicans voted against it, they said, oh, Republicans are against border security. It's a political thing. Even Democrats acknowledge that. It's totally fake. You know, you could keep going with it, but everyone knows it's fake.
Okay. Well, apparently Trump doesn't. He said at a rally in Nevada to blame it on him if the border bill fails. So I think that Trump's big mouth actually does him a lot of harm because I just used Trump's own word of mouth to debunk Nick Fuentes supporting Trump. So yeah, see that's the face of a losing man. And you said that you were
What you're
perfectly
saying is just
painting this-
retarded.
Okay, well, I don't appreciate your use of the slurs, but I guess that's what emotionally immature men, when someone smarter than them lays down the truth. Isn't that right, sir?
10 minutes on this topic.
We make jokes. Men are funny. Men are funny.
Is the echo still there? Did I get rid of the echo? What's not working? Because your internet's on, bro.
Yeah, but it ain't let me play games. It's not letting me play games for some reason.
Dude, I ain't got time to be messing with this.
Why can't you?
I'm in the middle of something, bub.
Why'd you pause it?
So that I could try to figure this out. I can't pay attention to what I'm watching if I'm having to fix this for you.
Can you still do it though?
You're gonna have to try. If it don't work, you may have to restart your phone.
Women are not funny. That's another advantage, but that's the other debate.
Are you a woman?
You could call it emotionally immature. Oh my gosh, he said the R word. That's what happens when an emotionally immature male.
I'm
Go
just
ahead,
sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
According to
Go
your
ahead
logic,
on immigration.
according to your logic. But I would like to specifically clarify that your comment about men being more funny than women was just
That's
another
true.
unfunny, false fucking comment by an immature
fact.
man. I
That's a
didn't
fact.
find it that fucking funny when you were telling us that the Holocaust was fake and that 6
It's
million
ma'am.
Jewish people didn't die. I didn't find it that fucking funny when you sat here
Dean Withers has been triggered like the whole second half of this show.
and you told me that Trump didn't torpedo the border bill, even though he said he did at a rally in Nevada. If men were so much more funny than women, then why are you the most unfunny fucking specimen that I've ever had the displeasure of sitting across the damn phone with?
Why are you mad, dude? Why?
So triggered, bro. He is so fucking triggered.
I'm
We're
not
just
mad,
having a
I'm
debate.
passionate.
Wait,
No, he sounds pretty damn mad. There's a lot of hostility in the air.
who's funnier, Trump or Kamala?
Who's funnier?
Be
than
honest.
Trump is funnier than Kamala Harris. But
Case in
that doesn't.
point, I win the
Okay.
debate. Men funnier than women.
Oh, okay. But
You heard it here
understand-
first.
You understand the reason I'd say that Trump is funnier than Kamala Harris is because
Yeah,
he
because
has
he's a
the
guy.
No, because he has the IQ of your fucking family pet, and he sits on Twitter all day, and he rants about how much he hates Taylor Swift just because he endorsed Kamala Harris.
That was funny.
She endorsed Kamala Harris. It's not a funny and a ha-ha. It's a funny and a look at this guy fucking.
Oh yeah, Dean. I figured out what he does. What he does is he finds gotcha moments, and whatever Nick Fuentes says, Dean Withers is going to look for the gotcha moment in that phrase that Nick Fuentes says, and then he's going to use his emotion to make it look like he's making a better point. He's gonna get all worked up and show some theatrics to make it look like he's making a better point, but it really doesn't make it. It does, in fact, make him look like a clown. You're right.
Burn.
Dude, why? It's always like this diminutive. It's funny because it's sad, because you're a sad little. It was, dude, the president tweeted in all caps, "I hate Taylor Swift." You don't think that's funny? You don't think that's not hilarious?
That shit's hilarious because the majority of men in America don't give two fucks about Taylor Swift unless their last name is Kelsey.
Hilarious.
Wait, the president, do you think that Trump won 2020?
I said the former
Yeah,
president.
he uses emotion way too much to try to make a point. He gets himself like, even if you watch like his show, like I've seen it scrolling through YouTube Shorts. I've seen his show a few times, and every time I see him, every time he's trying to make his point, it always involves theatrics. It always involves him animating himself up to try to make a point. He can't sit there and have a calm conversation because he has the emotional base of a female. He gets worked up and loses track of what was actually said and then tries to make a got you moment out of like a point that was irrelevant in the whole thing that was said.
But do you think Trump won 2020?
100% he did. That's a fact.
Can you name one court case that would find?
No, because they threw all the cases out because they lack standing.
Okay, so is it okay believing things without evidence?
There is evidence. You asked about court cases, but the court cases weren't lost. They were thrown out because they didn't have standing. There's a difference.
So there's not any evidence that there's.
No, there is evidence.
So what's the
There is
evidence of the
evidence.
widespread voter fraud in 2020?
The evidence is this. Do you know how many people voted early in the 2016 election? Do you know what percentage?
Significantly less than in the 2020 election.
Correct. Half. 35%. And in 2020 it was 70%.
Okay, so that's your evidence that Trump had the election stolen from him?
Well,
Good God.
hey, let me. Whoa, why so hasty? Let's just talk about it.
I'm sorry, I'm having
So
fun. I'm having
the
fun.
amount of yeah, I can tell the amount of early voting
All of America that's watching can tell, Dean. All of us.
doubled because they changed the rules. In all the states, they changed the rules. In Pennsylvania, North Carolina, they illegally changed the rules with state election boards, with the state Supreme Court. In Wisconsin, they changed indefinitely confined status to mean anybody because of the pandemic. They solicited ballots. I literally got a ballot in Illinois for my uncle who has been dead for 20 years because they were soliciting ballots. And I would just say, if you, and let me ask you this.
Not only were they soliciting ballots, they were flying people over the border, bringing them to blue states where they knew that they could get driver's license, and then with that driver's license, they would fraudulently vote. This was happening because ICE detention members are picking, ICE federal workers are picking up illegal immigrants with licenses. They shouldn't have a fucking license if they're illegal. But what happens if they do have a license when they're illegal? They probably are also voting. And who are they going to vote for? They're going to vote for the dumbass that brought them over here and is trying to fast track them to citizenship to get votes off of their backs of them. That's what the Harris fucking Foundation tried to do.
If democracy is so sacred, which you believe, Kamala is going to protect and preserve our democracy. We're not going
Only
back.
because Trump tried to
Hang on.
overthrow it with a fake election.
But if democracy is so precious, then a ballot is a precious thing because the ballot is the currency.
You know that North Carolina doesn't mean much to me, right? Like, I don't give a fuck, man. I've lived in multiple states, and I'll probably live in more states as I get older. So it really don't matter.
The election.
I'm just where I lay my feet at and my head at.
Do you think that it's good practice to ship out ballots to every voter and then tell them to dump them off in a drop box in a park unsupervised for a month at any time during the day? You think that's a good way to run an election?
Yeah, okay. I mean, then Trump.
I've spent just as much time living out of North Carolina, probably more time living out of North Carolina than I have lived in North Carolina. So
shouldn't have voted, right?
Well,
they
is
voted
it?
by
I'm
mail-in.
asking you, is it? That's what happened.
Yeah, I think that mail-in ballots can be made secure. I understand like your immediate like response to them, saying that, oh, if I use these words in this particular way, this doesn't seem like
Well,
a
just
real
answer.
safe
I mean, do you think that's a good way to run an election?
It
Obviously
is.
not.
It is.
It's
It
obvious.
is. It is, and the empirics would agree with me. There's no sufficient evidence.
Yeah, there is. There's been mail-in ballot fraud forever.
A widespread
How?
voter fraud.
The
All the
flawed
audits that were done on the
fucking
outcome of the
method.
2020 election indicated that it was a safe election in recorded U.S. history. Donald
Where
Trump
do they
went to
conduct audits?
63 One moment. Donald Trump went to 63 hand-picked courts, with 34 of those judges being Republican appointed, 17 of those judges being appointed by himself. All 63 of those courts ruled that there was no sufficient evidence and threw it out on the basis of no standing. And then Donald Trump even tried to form his own election integrity committee and bumped millions of dollars into them to find absolutely anything. They came up with a 2000 Mules movie, which the producers admitted in fucking court that they were lying. And when he found out that he had no evidence, what did he do? He went to the DOJ with Bill Barr and tried to pressure him in to falsely announcing widespread voter fraud when there wasn't any. And if you know anything about your history, Bill Barr had to resign from the DOJ because half of the DOJ threatened to quit if he didn't. Donald Trump not only tried to rig the outcome of the 2020 election with the fake electorate plot, sending 7 different slates of fake electors.
I don't think that he tried to rig the election. I think he tried to investigate whether the election was rigged. At that point, the election was already over, right? Am I wrong? The election was already over. How the fuck are you going to rig an election that's already over? He didn't. He tried to investigate it because he thought it was fraudulent. Just shit right, Dean.
It's the 7 different states that cast fake votes into Congress to either be certified as real by Mike Pence or to be or to be accepted by the House if Mike Pence were to claim ignorance. But he also lied about the outcome. Your conspiracy theory that Donald Trump won has no evidence for it, and the only thing you could come up with was Pennsylvania changing their voting rules because of COVID, which, by the way, was ruled as legal by the Supreme Court.
You're just like not even listening. It was Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Wisconsin, and basically and they all did it illegally. Basically, every state changed rules of the election. And I would say, you're telling me, oh, putting 70% of the voters voting early by putting them in mailboxes a month out from the election in an unsupervised drop box, you're saying, that is a good idea. You're just putting words in a particular order. Look, they don't do it like that in France because, we didn't do it here in America. The absentee voting was so rare up until like 20 years ago, up until 4 years ago, because it's so prone to fraud, obviously. When you vote in person, you got to present in certain states. Hang on, I let you just go.
You let me out.
You got to present your ID. You receive your ballot. They watch you. You go into a room with curtains on it because there's privacy involved too. You fill it out and you submit it. It's called a chain of custody, meaning a supervisor watches the voter get their ballot, fill it out, and return it. It doesn't happen when you're doing so-called in-person absentee voting, and that's how 70% of people voted. That's a big problem. It's a big problem they changed the rules without doing it in a constitutional way. It's a big problem that those cases weren't even considered in the Supreme Court. It's also a big problem, by the way, they didn't do an independent ballot audit in almost any of the states. They did one in Arizona. It was flawed. They still found.
Georgia.
Where did they conduct an independent ballot audit? Where did they conduct an independent? It wasn't independent. They did a recount.
Georgia, Idaho,
No.
Indiana,
Wrong.
Kansas,
Wrong.
Michigan,
Wrong.
New Jersey, and
Wrong.
Oklahoma.
That's
and in
just
fact,
wrong.
I knew
You're
that
just
you
wrong.
would say that
Google
this
it.
is wrong. I knew that you
Google
would
it.
say that. I knew that you would say this is wrong. Search up U.S. States Election Assistant Commission election audits across the United States. It'll give you an entire PDF.
They're not
that would
independent.
include
That's
the
the
types of
problem.
audits, the timing, the policies, the case studies, and the state-specific information, indicating that yes, these were independent.
It's like you're
audits.
just not
Feel
even
free to
listening.
look through them.
I didn't say they didn't do audits or recounts. No, in no state other than Arizona did they conduct an independent audit of the ballots. Of course, if the same people that oversaw the fraud and were covering up the windows in the stadium in Detroit,
Yeah.
of course the state is going to cover its own ass. That's why it needs to be independent. And they didn't do it in any state, even though that's what we were asking for. And by the way, about fake electors, they're
What
not
do you mean
fake.
by independent?
Independent meaning
Not only that, like, this shouldn't even be a fucking debate on, like, who better Kamala. Kamala didn't pass primaries. She dropped out. So she should have never even been on the fucking race to begin with. She dropped out because she was losing badly. She didn't even start getting shit voted until they actually placed her in when Biden dropped out. Like, and that to me is a crime in its damn selves because the people had already not picked her. The people had already not picked her, and then she wanted to pretend on the stage, whatever stage she was on, she wanted to pander to whatever people she was talking to try to make it sound like she was part of the people, indigenous people of that area, and that just wasn't the case.
Conducted
Why
by
we
the
don't know what Kamala is.
state.
Oh, okay. Independent of the state. So I just want to
Yes.
clarify. So you think that Donald Trump shouldn't have went to like the 17 judges that he appointed because those weren't independent?
So now you're
That's what I'm saying. When she was running, she dropped out before the primaries because she wasn't getting votes. And then she was appointed to be the person. That shit was garbage. It should have never worked that way. It should have never even happened like that. That should have been a fucking fraud in itself.
galloping onto something else. You said,
I
"Oh,
was
I was
just
ready
saying.
for you to
Yeah,
say that. I have all this evidence." "Oh, I didn't listen," and you said independent. Anyway, how about judges or something? Anyway,
no, responding.
Let's get back on topic. Dean. Hold on. We've been going back and forth about January 6th. This topic is about immigration. Let's go to closing statements here. We'll do 1 minute from Dean and then 1 minute from Nick. So closing statements. You can bring up January 6th, but let's keep it to immigration if you can. Actually, I'll give you 90 seconds to reel it back a little. 90 seconds each.
About the specific ballot audits, I didn't know what you meant when you're referencing independent audits. I understand that you are now referencing audits independent of the state. I asked you to define your term, and I understand that. Yeah,
because you're on Chat GPT Democrat mode.
Nick, let's give him 90 seconds. Let's give him 90 seconds and uninterrupted. I'll restart your time, Dean.
No, I just don't think that like an audit done by a state can automatically be discounted because you exist in a echo chamber of conspiratorial hearsay and you start.
I'll say that no Republican exists in an echo chamber. That would happen to be the Democrats. They literally create echo chambers to put themselves into. Hence, blue sky.
Off with the basis Trump can never lose. You move to the basis when Trump loses, no, he didn't. And then tangent of that, you say all of these audits done by independent states are thereby null and void, and I shouldn't listen to them, nor the 63 courts. It's just conspiracy theory. That's what you are. Your mind's been rotted. Everyone agrees with me. No one agrees with you apart from Donald Trump. Nobody
agrees with him. I would think that the majority of America agrees with Nick Fuentes more than you, Dean Withers. I'm sorry, but I doubt people agree with you.
Even his old VP, Mike.
Unless they're mentally ill.
Or 44 of the 46 former cabinet members, and that needs to be pointed out. Now, closing statements about immigration specifically, was that what you asked for, Sneeko?
Yeah.
I thought it was 90 seconds each on J6 and then
Yeah, I'm
closing
down
statements.
for that. I'm down for that. I kind of like this conversation.
Sure, that's fine. Go ahead.
Okay, let me do mine now on J6. So, here's the thing about the Trump election. They doubled the number of early voting. There's obvious flaws with chain of custody. Like, it just doesn't even pass the smell test. On that basis alone, you just can't take the authenticity of the election. And people say it's about, you believe Trump can never lose. I don't think that at all. I think Trump may lose in 2024. But you have to recognize that 2020 was an anomalous election. So when there is an anomaly, when every state changes how they conduct their ballot, when there's an unprecedented, the former peak of early voting was 35%. It was 70% in 2020. It was different. When something is different, you have to investigate it. That's the basis of an inquiry. Problem is, nobody wanted to investigate it. As quickly as the election happened, they wanted to shut it down. They censored people for talking about it. They didn't conduct independent ballot audits.
What would be the reasons why you want to shut something down early and not do an investigation? Usually because there's something fraudulent going on.
And there was even a Time magazine piece that came out in January 2021, and it said, this is the conspiracy to shut down the election deniers. And there was like a full spectrum attack from the Democrats and the left on protesters, on people that were investigating this to prevent them from trying to decertify, trying to send on over other slates of electors. And I would point out, it is the state legislature's constitutional authority to send electors. If they throw out the election because they don't want to certify it and appoint a different slate of electors, that's their constitutional right to do so. That's just the law. And I would just say, look, if you really believe that 80 million people voted for Biden, that the 2020 election had more voters than any election in history by far, and it just happened to be the one where there was all mail-in ballots.
10 seconds, Nick.
Then, yeah, I just think you're dumb. I mean, so that's kind of my closing statement on J6.
Let's go closing statements on immigration. Let's do 1 minute each on immigration. Go ahead, Dean.
Cool. I'm just, you could take this off of my time. Well, you told me that your whole theory here is reliant on a smell test. Nick, I fucking smell bullshit. We shouldn't be relying on our intuitions and our emotions to tell.
I don't think shit can smell bullshit. I think when shit is what shit does, shit can't smell itself.
Us who won the 2020 election. I think that conservatives are so funny because they'll be like, listen to the science, trans women aren't women, I don't care about what you think or feel, you have XYXX chromosomes, but then sit over here and give me some bullshit smell test to dictate who won in 2020. About immigration specifically, I think it's evidently clear that Donald Trump doesn't care about the southern border, or else he wouldn't have torpedoed the bipartisan border bill in the House and the Senate 2 years ago. I think that it's evidently clear that he's not about getting shit done. He's repeating the same Republican tagline that every Republican in the last 20 years has with quote unquote deport them all. My question to you would be, why didn't Bush? They can't do it. It's practically infeasible. I say that we deport all violent undocumented migrants and then give the rest a pathway to residency and citizenship, fix our southern border, make it faster, make it quicker, and make it safer, and then crack down further on undocumented migration when our legal systems are up to par.
10 seconds, Dean.
Either deport them all, right? Get rid of $1.7 trillion from our economy over the next 10 years. You don't care about the debt. You don't care about the state of the economy. You don't care about the workers in the economy. All that you care about is spewing your fucking prejudice. You're doing the same thing with undocumented migrants now that you did with gay people and women 30 minutes ago. Take it away.
Closing statement, Nick, 1 minute.
Basket of deplorables, right? It was just a basket of deplorables. With regard to immigration, everybody knows Biden threw open the border. He rescinded every Trump executive order on immigration. He stopped construction of the wall. He effectively stopped deportations. Guess what happens? You get a lot of people. You get 10 million illegals in 4 years. That's insane. 10 million people in 4 years from Venezuela, from Haiti, from Africa, we don't even know who they are. The people that are coming here, they don't buy health care. They don't have a high school education. They have no resources. They're a massive drain on the economy. When they need health care, they go to the emergency room. They send their kids to public schools. It's a huge drain. And many states are eligible for SNAP. They're eligible for other benefits. And they work low wages. Because they're not educated, they work low skill, low paying jobs. They will never in a million years, maybe in a million, but they won't pay off in taxes what they receive in services. It's a big fiscal impact. They're, in many cases, they're criminals. They don't show culture. They're low IQ. And we can, I mean, it's just obvious that this border bill thing was an ass-saving move. They poison pilled it with a bunch of nonsense so that they could blame it on Trump. But we all know the reality, and it's wrecking our country.
Okay, thank you. That was 5 topics. I think this was a good spirited debate overall. I appreciate both of your time. Adin, do you have any thoughts?
You guys were, I would say about 90% of it, you guys respected, each other's time speaking and stuff, and it was awesome. It was great. Great conversations, great defense, great offense. It's the first time I've ever done one of these, and it felt really, really cool. I'm definitely gonna do more of this. How do you guys feel? We'll start with you, Dean. Like, how would you feel overall about this debate?
Yeah, I mean, like, oh, you got a little bit of an echo there.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, dude, you're all good. I mean, I think overall, like, I'll first just kind of give my thoughts about, just having the debate on your platform. I think that was, like, really, really, really cool. I like the idea of exposing more people to what I believe in and why. I ultimately think if everyone thought like me, the world would be better off, and you kind of gave me more of an opportunity to achieve that. All things considered, it's good to have, a conversation about why people disagree.
I hope less people tend to want to think like Dean. It's not bad to think outside the box, but when that's your whole thought process, it's kind of flawed.
Conversations need to be held more. I'd say that you're overall doing a good thing here. I think that I did pretty well as well. Nick, specifically to you, I think for a lot of it, you're a pretty disingenuous debater, but I'll keep my personal qualms to myself. I appreciate you for the conversation over the course of the last hour and a half. And then Adin, maybe you're at the end. I wanted to throw my socials out there for all the people in chat that may want them after watching me debate, but I'll leave that off until later.
Cool. Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate that, Dean. All right, and what about you, Nick? What would you like to say to the people and last words to Dean? Go ahead.
Well, thanks for having me on. I thought it was a lot of fun. Good. It's very informative. People get to learn about the topics. That's how you learn about an issue. You know, you have to hear both sides. That wasn't nice. I don't think I was disingenuous. I'm funny, okay, and I'm a little sarcastic sometimes, but I think it's pretty clear to differentiate. You know, I think he's a young guy. I fundamentally, I think a lot of the partisan debates are they're too shallow. I think that we all kind of go through a phase when we're young, and not to like son you, I'm unk status now, but like we all go through a phase when we're teenagers, we're precocious, have a political disposition, and you know, we kind of rush for like, I'm a Republican, I'm a Democrat. The Republicans are good, the Democrats are bad. The reality of politics is that Democrats and Republicans are really on the same side. And Republicans are one wing, and they're meant to create the illusion of opposition or dynamism where there really isn't any. And the personnel and the policies turn over from one administration to the next with very little difference. And I think that's even largely true in this election. And people get caught up in rhetoric and these appeals to emotion, slogans. People have to really follow the money. They need to look at things like imports and exports. They need to look at energy. They need to look at institutional capture. That's where you really discern the truth. So these kinds of intramural debates are fun. We go back and forth, but it's so much deeper. It's such a complex subject. But it's good that people are interested in it, and I appreciate Dean for coming on. I hope that he keeps reading. Keep reading, keep learning. You know, in 10 years, I guarantee you have a totally different viewpoint. Maybe you're still left wing, but you'll have a different viewpoint for sure. I heard that when I was young. I didn't believe it, and then it was true. I only became more right wing. But you have to have that curiosity. I'm sure you will.
Supporter when I was 16.
I'm sure you will.
Well,
But
great.
yeah, so I thought it was great.
Wait, sorry, Dean, you cut off. You said you were a Trump supporter when you were 16?
Oh, dude, I used to be a vehement Trump supporter. Like Adin, I was like big Trump fan, like Andrew Tate guy. I was like all of that shit. You know, we could delve into the reasons why not super necessary for the live, but I guess like the point is the only reason I brought that up is because seemingly I've had a more progressive trend the more that I've matured.
I gotcha. Okay.
Well, you were going to ask him about a previous debate that Nick had on Twitch.
Nick, I'm going to ask you too, Dean, about something as well. Nick, did you previously debate Hassan Abi on Twitch?
I did, yes.
And someone told me that resulted in you getting banned on Twitch?
Yeah, that was the reason for my ban. Destiny mass reported me because he was on the debate as well.
Who won the debate in the people's eyes?
Me. Well, it was me and Sargon of Akkad. Remember him? It was me and him. We won.
How did I do compared to Destiny?
Not as well. But Destiny is probably your top guy, I think.
Well, hey, let me but Nick, I'm gonna let Dean. I'll be real, man. You're 1920. Like you're probably like the best, well-spoken 19-20-year-old debater I've ever heard. And I look, and I fucking
minus the theatrics and the emotion that Dean puts into every response to try to make it theatrical, to try to get a bigger point across, to make it seem more believable, which to me is just bullshit.
No, seriously.
Learn how to keep composure, though, Dean. Learn how to keep some composure.
And look, I don't agree with everything. It doesn't matter, but still, me and Sneeko are sitting here muted watching. You have a lot of great points. You have a lot of good discussions. You know, a lot of good counters. But I mean, but Nick, go ahead. What do you think about him overall as a debater?
You know, I think I think on a technical level, the rhetoric is effective at debating. I hate rhetoric. There is too much like sloganeering in there and kind of like cheap turns of phrase that like, oh, you think that doesn't pass the smell test? This doesn't pass. Those like cheap turns of phrase, I think that's what they are. I think they're cheap. Some of the sloganeering, like when Trump is going to make you pay more at the grocery store. This is just like political electioneering rhetoric. I like debates that are just very frank and brutal and straightforward and about the facts, and I like humor in there. So it's a different style. I think Dems lean a little more on rhetoric and sophistry, and syllogisms and hypotheticals. I think right-wing people are a little bit more plain talking and maybe lighthearted and fun. That's my view of it.
Yeah, I'd hold the exact opposite, but I mean, I'm guessing you'd be able to guess that I'd say that.
Well, yeah, you're you and I'm me, so.
Exactly.
Great. Well, let me ask you both a question. Dean, if you would like to call somebody out, I would love to have you on again. Dean, I would love for you to call somebody out. I'll try to pull some, who are like maybe 2 or 3 people, Dean, that you would like to debate on my stream next.
Oh, man. Nico.
What topics?
We'll have to talk about it, man.
Sure.
I would love to debate you. I would love to debate you, Sneeko. That's what I'd like to do. I'd also, right? You said like a couple people. I mean, if there's selections here, Andrew Tate. Okay, this guy, he fucking tweeted at me on Twitter, and he said I was the reason why like white people are being replaced or some like crazy Nick Fuentes shit like that. And then I retweeted it and called him out. It went crazy, but he's pivoting, he's dodging. I want to debate. Andrew Tate. And then something else. I got a buddy. His name is Parker. If y'all ever have anything 2v2 going on, he would love to hop on one of these, and he'd be great for the content. Real smart guy.
For sure. Yeah, real quick, do you know who?
I've seen that Parker guy. I finally got to see the Parker. Charlie Kirk went to the Jubilee, and he did a debate on like a bunch of, I think it was like 25 liberals that he was debating, and Parker was in there. He holds a very similar style of debate as Dean does. Very theatrical, very overly emotional. Yeah, I think they're the same. I think Parker is just a little more theatrical. I think he's just a little more emotional than even Dean is. But I've only seen that one debate there. He came in on a couple of different topics. You only get you only get like 30 seconds or 60 seconds in those debates, and then people red flag you out. When the majority of red flags is more than the amount of people in the debate, they switch the opponent. So you only got to see him for very small periods, but he wouldn't even change his topic to be the topic of what they were debating. He kept trying to revert his topic back to some other shit that was dumb as hell, and he was overly theatrical, overly emotional, and it was absolutely hilarious because he's a lunatic. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. I haven't seen that one, Carnage, but I have seen the one where Charlie Kirk went on the Jubilee, and he sat down in the middle of a circle of people that are holding up, like, you get 2 chairs in the middle of a circle of chairs. There's like 25 chairs on the outside. The people on the outside each have a red flag. Once that red flag numbers come up, the person that's debating against Charlie has to be removed, as long as the majority of flags is greater than the number of, when it's the majority of the people around him that are in the debate. When they put their red flags up, he has to come off the floor. So we didn't really get a lot of debate from him there. I probably will watch more of them, but I may watch more of them on here. I don't know if I'm gonna always do them in this live stream. In this, I don't know how much I really like the the format of this right here, where I can be into the, what do you want to call it? Be into the YouTube Shorts algorithm. I don't know if I'll maintain it to always be in this format. I may do it in a normal format as well. What, the Jubilee? I mean, I don't know. That was the only thing I watched. I watched one with Charlie Kirk, and then another one came on right as that one ended, and it was actually Dean debating. It was like 12 people, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know the channel particularly. Those are the only 2 times I've ever even heard of that channel. But I think I went and I looked up Dean Withers debating Charlie Kirk, and I think that was one way that I found that. But But yeah, so we'll do more of these. Maybe shorter docu series, maybe or not docu series, but maybe shorter series that I do where we do more of them in a smaller fashion. Or we may do some in full long term fashion. Not 100% sure yet, but we're gonna try to get this thing growing. Try to get it back to where it is. I'm gonna let this finish out real quick because there's literally 3 minutes left, and then I'll put it back to the main camera.
Harry is, by the way.
A gay guy
Yes.
owns that channel. I hear you.
Are you also Harry's friend?
Yeah, I'm friends with Harry.
Oh, okay. No, I was curious. Okay, and then Nick, who would you like to debate next? I'll work some.
Call Charlie Kirk. I'm calling out Candace Owens. I debate her. I debate Shapiro. I debate any of the above or any of the Democrats, Harry Sisson or whoever, but I usually debate conservatives actually. So
Gotcha. Real quick, really quick here. I do want to say, again, Dean, we've been trying to find you. I've been trying to find you a matchup for a while. I want to let you know everyone was basically like, I'm busy, I can't do it. Nick finds out 2 minutes later, he doesn't even know who you are. Says, I'm down. Let's do it for sure. I just want to let you know, Nick.
Kudos to Nick for that. Kudos to Nick for only knowing who he was debating 2 minutes before coming into the live stream and was like, fuck it, let's do it. I like it.
I do appreciate the last minute. Me and Dean have been trying to go at this thing for quite some time now. So last minute, Nick was just like, yeah, sure, I'll do it. You didn't even know who he was, no hesitation. You just said screw it, yeah. Because I will say, I'm not going to say names, but a lot of people didn't want to debate Dean. I'll say that a lot of people were not really wanting to do it. So
because he's not a very good debater. Maybe he's a good masturbator, but he's not a very good debater. He uses way too much theatrics. He's way too emotional, and that's just not indicative of a good debate because he gets himself all worked up. He gets very ladylike in the manner where he gets so emotional that his point isn't even coming across because all I'm seeing is the emotion pouring out of him, and that's just not good because you need to be able to keep a level head to keep a debate going. I didn't say I didn't like Nick Fuentes. I said I'd never watched him. I never had watched him. I said I knew he had gotten banned off a platform, but I had never watched Nick Fuentes either. This is literally the first video of Nick Fuentes that I've ever watched. I didn't know him. I've heard of him, but I never knew him. It wasn't that I didn't like him. I just didn't know anything about him. And honestly, I thought that he was more on the left spectrum because I had never watched any of his content. Until I found out that he got banned, and then I was like, oh, well, maybe he ain't on the left. But, yeah, I didn't know anything about him.
Nick has been trying to debate Ben Shapiro for about 7-8 years, and maybe you could use the Jewish connections and say, yeah, that'd be a great one.
Well,
use the Jewish connections. That's crazy, Seiko.
It's not a Jewish connection that I would do it, but I will reach out to Shapiro and I'll see if he would like to debate Fuentes. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah. Okay. Well, you got.
How old is this debate? October 3rd of 2024. All right, so this is literally a year-old debate.
Awesome. I appreciate both of you. Again, guys, any last words you'd like to say before we head on out?
But no, yeah, I do agree with a lot of the things that Nick had said throughout this debate. I kind of like his debate style a little bit. He is a little bit of a funny man, but he knows his shit. So I mean, he's not a bad young dude. I don't think Dean's necessarily a bad young dude either. I just think he has a lot of growing to do. He seems mature, but then that undoes itself very shortly as soon as he gets himself all worked up. So I don't know, but I don't agree with anything almost that Dean Withers says, but that's besides the point.
Yeah, do you mind if I plug myself?
Go ahead.
If you're watching the debate, I'm sure that it's a heavily right-leaning chat. I mean, this guy Donald Trump on a couple months.
I thought they did end up doing a debate. They did not? I thought I heard something that they did, but I could have been absolutely mistaken.
Back, so I doubt I'll get that much love. But if you liked what you saw and you enjoyed, my debating style, I'm on Instagram at Dean Withers, DeanWithers. I'm on Twitter at ITSDEAANN. It's Dean with 2 A's, 2 N's. TikTok is the same thing as a Twitter. But yeah, I appreciate everyone for showing up and showing out. It was a fun little debate tonight.
Okay, and then Nick, anything you'd like to say?
Yeah, well, just thanks again, Adin. Good to talk to you again, Sneeko. Dean, thanks for coming on. Fun debate. Appreciate everybody watching. Hey, I've defended Trump, but I'm telling people, don't vote for Trump. He's not far right enough. That's my new. He's bringing us to war with Iran. He's not going to deport all the illegals. I'm telling people,
we got
don't
the Jill
vote.
Stein of the right over here. We got the Jill Stein.
That's some bullshit, chat. I ain't gonna lie.
Principled.
We need Trump
and
over
based.
Kamala.
I'm not going to plug myself. Because that's just like, follow me in real. I'm Nick Fuentes. Follow me at Nick Fuentes
I'm
in
new
real
to
life.
I'm new to
Yeah, I know. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. When you're young, when you're unk status like me, it's like, hey, follow me in the astral plane. Okay, follow me in the ether. I am on Rumble though, but yeah. So it was a fun debate. Good meeting you and good seeing you guys, Adin and Sneeko.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. All right, guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. You guys have a good night.
All right, so. Shit. Now can you hear me? Sorry about that. I don't know why when I've had the mic muted the whole time because I was doing it, I thought, through the webcam audio. But I guess for some reason when I switched scenes, I switched to a different scene where it was just full camera. I guess it switched it up, so I have to make sure I keep that corrected. But hey, I'm trying to figure it out, man. I'm new to the OBS platform. I'm using OBS right now instead of Restream. So I'm trying to figure out everything on it. Like I said, I need an engineer or a producer or something to fucking walk me through some of the steps and get me caught up on it. Or at least give me the setup so that I can just run the setup. But I'm trying to figure it out, trying to get everything laid out on it. Trying to get it all set up so that we can actually have some good shows. Again, I don't know that I'm going to continue to do them all in this YouTube Shorts algorithm format. Just because I like to be able to have the big screen. I like to be able to fill the screen. And I can't do that with this. Old bullshit? Yeah. OBS is actually probably the best platform to do it on. For streaming software. But it allows me to do way more than Restream does. As in, like, I'll be able to bring in images where I can, like, see how the words are up here right now. I'll be able to change these, and I'll be able to put an actual scoreboard up here on game day. But see, on game day, that's another thing. Is do I want to do the full screen format for game day, or do I want to stay in the YouTube Shorts algorithm? It's either way. Whether I do it from OBS or from Restream, it still doesn't bring in quite the amount of people. We've had a decent amount of people come in here. Not many of them stayed because I was struggling with technical difficulties in the very beginning of the show. But I don't know. There's still a lot of kinks to work out with it. But I'm trying to get it figured out. I'm going to have to probably post in the community chat box on the page what the next video will be about. I don't have one off the top of my head. I need to look into one. Which video I'm going to be doing next. But I plan on trying to do Wednesdays and Saturdays. I plan on trying to give this channel 2 days instead of just one. Both at 7 o'clock. That way I can try to get things done. Now, Saturdays are hard for me. Saturdays are hard for me because that is literally like my family day. But it is what it is. And man, 52, like, this channel has only got less than 100 people on the channel. So until it grows, it's not going to be anywhere near what my other channel is. But and I was only doing it once a week until today, and that was for 1 week, and now I've done it twice this week. I'll do it twice next week. But we're going to try to continue to grow this channel and continue to do different reactions on politics or religious content or current events content. I may just do a live stream. See, now I want to do the protest. I really want to do some of the protest work. But the only thing that makes that hard for me is most of the protest, like, the content is on the West Coast that's being put out for the protest. So if I go live for the protest that's just starting to take off at 8, 10 o'clock, that puts me at 11, 12 o'clock at a starting time over here on the East Coast. So I would do some of the protests live. Like last Wednesday when I went live and I was trying to show protest, if you look on the page, I literally, after I ended the stream, I had to go live again. Because now not many people popped in because nobody knew about it, but I went live again later that night to try and show some of the protesting, which I didn't indeed actually get to do then. But it's such a late start time for me over here on the East Coast that it's not very conducive of being a long-term thing for me. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to, or if I do, I'm not going to be able to show like live protesting. It's just going to be like me showing the videos of what they did the day prior. So, which then at that point it kind of becomes old news. So I don't know. It's just, it's complex. I wish that I could, when it's 8 o'clock on the West Coast, it could be 8 o'clock over here, but obviously it's impossible. But that way that we could all go live and we could show it and air it and we could all have opinions, talk about it. But it just is what it is. We're going to have to kind of figure it out as we go a little bit. This channel is new to me as it's new to you. But it's going to be a journey. It's going to be a process. And we're going to have to try to keep it going. Hopefully y'all have fun. Hopefully y'all tap in with us on Wednesdays and Saturdays, 7 o'clock for this channel. And I'm about to pop out. So y'all stay blessed. Peace.